Developing right now on Morning News Now, Kristi Noem ousted as Homeland Security Secretary. President Trump firing one of the most divisive members of his cabinet after a series of controversies, including those deadly protests in Minneapolis as she led the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. Noem's firing just days after facing tough questions from lawmakers about a multi-million-dollar ad campaign and other issues. Now we're learning more about the president's pick to replace her. We are in Washington with the latest. Also developing, the war with Iran intensifying at sea and on land. American forces striking a key Iranian drone carrier as Israel launches a new round of attacks on Tehran and Beirut. But Iran's foreign minister calling the operation a failure in an interview with our Tom Yamas.
Your supreme leader was killed. Your top military leaders were killed. Your military installations have been bombed. How can you call that a failure?
They came here for a regime change, perhaps. They came here for a rapid victory so they can, control everything. But they have failed.
More of that interview, including what we're learning about who could be Iran's next supreme leader. Plus, an emotional return for our friend Savannah Guthrie, visiting the Today Show studio for the first time since her mom, Nancy, went missing. Her message to our NBC News family. And severe storms threatening dangerous conditions for much of the country, with tens of millions of people at risk. Angie's here tracking the system as we head into the weekend. And there is some good news. It's Friday.
There is the weekend right there. Good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you very much for being with us. We're going to begin our show with a shakeup in President Trump's cabinet. On Thursday, the president announced the firing of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who's been leading his immigration crackdown. It is the first major firing of his second term in office, and it comes just days after Noem was on the hot seat in two difficult congressional hearings. An administration official told NBC News the decision was based on a culmination of, quote, many unfortunate leadership failures.
Noem's departure caps off a tumultuous time as she became one of the faces of the president's highly controversial mass deportation agenda. It's a program that sparked fierce public backlash, especially after the fatal shootings of two protesters in Minneapolis by federal agents. This morning, we're learning more about why the president decided to fire Noem, what's next for her, and who is set to replace her. Here to talk about all this, NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, good morning. We know NBC News spoke on the phone with the president yesterday about this very topic. What are some of the reasons he's giving as to why he fired Noem?
Yeah, good morning, guys. First of all, President Trump told our Garrett Haake that Kristi Noem is, quote, a fine person who did a good job. He denied our earlier reporting in which we had many sources tell us that essentially there was a final straw for the president, Noem's performance at her dual hearings this week. He said that wasn't the case, but he did note one of the things that came up in these hearings, an ad campaign that Noem launched. It was $220 million. It was a contract that she gave out. That came under questioning from a Republican senator. The president telling Garrett, quote, I wasn't thrilled with it. I spent less money than that to become president. I didn't know about it. Remember, this campaign encouraged immigrants to self-deport, but a major shakeup. The first cabinet secretary, as you said, that the president had fired and now appointed a new one.
It looks like Noem won't be going too far. She's being moved to a newly created role. It's called Special Envoy for the Shield of Americas. What do we know about what that role is? And tell us what Noem said about all this.
Yeah, this is a brand new role. Look, the president does not like to waste his political capital on people that he later then fires. We know he prefers to shift them into softer landing pads, if you will. And so this role, according to the White House, they say reflects the president's effort to shift the U.S. national security strategy toward the Western Hemisphere. In a post on X, Kristi Noem says she looks forward to assuming this role and working with Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio to try and focus on dismantling the cartel, she said. Noem is expected to attend an event that the president is attending on Saturday, meeting with Latin American countries. There are also rumors and still speculation that Noem may be eyeing a Senate seat, potentially one to watch there. The filing deadline in South Dakota, guys, not up until the end of this month.
Julie, as you've been covering, Democrats are holding up funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's been 3 weeks since that funding shut down. Could this firing mean that lawmakers will be inclined to free up the money, or are there still more issues that Democrats want addressed?
That was the key question I was asking Democrats, guys, yesterday. And I asked Leader Schumer about this, who told me essentially this is a matter of policy, not personnel. And he's not convinced that Senator Markwayne Mullin will do a different job at the department. Take a listen to what he said.
The president has fired Kristi Noem. Good riddance. But the problems at this agency, ICE, transcend any one person. The rot is deep. The president has to end the violence and rein in ICE. This is a problem of policy, not personnel.
You heard him say there, the rot is deep. Democrats are going to need assurances from Mullin, who told me after, by the way, that he wants to earn his votes. He's willing to sit down with Democrats. Remember, some Republicans also took issue with those intense immigration enforcement operations. They want to see changes, too. But so far, guys, no path ahead as to when the lights will turn back on at DHS. Certainly, Noem's ouster will help, but it won't solve the problem.
Julie, you mentioned Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. This is Trump's pick to replace Noem. Tell us more about him and what are his prospects for getting Senate approval?
He's fairly new to the Senate, but he has spent a lot of time in the House, several years in the Senate. He's in his first term. He's from Oklahoma. He has a lot of friends across the aisle and Republican partners as well. I'll just give you a little peek behind the curtain. Yesterday morning when we were reporting on this, I asked Senator Thom Tillis who should replace Kristi Noem, and he mentioned Markwayne Mullin. This is somebody who already has commitment from at least one Senate Democrat who texted him, John Fetterman, that he will confirm him for this job. He has leadership experience. He's been the go-between between Capitol Hill and the White House. He's very close to the president. I talked to him extensively yesterday, and he said he's looking forward to taking on this job. He praised Kristi Noem, but he did say there are areas that they could do a better job in, specifically immigration enforcement. But, guys, he basically left his lunch on his plate when he ran out and got the call from the president. He told me he was not expecting it to come yesterday and hadn't even talked to his wife yet when we were asking him about it.
All right. Julie Sirkin kicking us off this hour. Thank you so much.
Well, the Iran war is expanding across the Middle East this morning as the U.S. and Israel continue to bombard, Tehran. Iran's retaliatory strikes now stretch across the region. As the conflict widens, European governments have begun deploying military assets to the Middle East.
Now Iran is vowing revenge for that deadly U.S. strike on an Iranian submarine in the Indian Ocean. In an interview with NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas, Iran's foreign minister said that his country rejected negotiations with the U.S. and is preparing for a possible invasion by U.S. forces.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said that we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
For more on this, let's bring in NBC News reporter Matt Bodner and NBC News International correspondent Matt Bradley. He is near the Israel-Lebanon border with the very latest. Good morning to both of you. I'm Matt Bodner. I will begin with you. Yesterday, Trump administration officials were having discussions with Kurdish leaders in Iraq and Iran about potentially arming groups opposed to the regime. That's according to three people with knowledge of these discussions and an Iraqi Kurdish official. Well, now the Turkish government is denying those plans. What more can you tell us?
Thanks, Savannah. Yeah, well, we've been seeing those two, this reporting from NBC that the White House is in discussion with these Kurdish leaders there in northern Iraq and northwestern Iran. And the question is about potentially arming opposition groups to fight against the regime. That, as you said, according to people with knowledge of those discussions. Separately, we've seen Axios reporting that several Kurdish Iranian factions are working with the CIA and Mossad also to prepare for a possible offensive. And it is worth noting that in the days before the launch of this operation, Epic Fury, 5 Kurdish Iranian groups based in Iraqi Kurdistan did announce a new coalition being formed against Tehran. Now, that all said, the Kurdistan regional government in Iraq said in a statement not long ago, denying reports that it is planning to arm Kurdish opposition groups before sending them into Iran. So no one at this point really knows what to expect. But it is reasonable to sort of anticipate a move like a Kurdish offensive may come before the United States would seriously consider a direct ground invasion. But it's not clear that the U.S. is even all that close to being able to mount such an operation itself. We've, of course, in recent days heard a lot from Hegseth and other leaders making a lot of noise about air superiority. But the United States still has a way to go before they can claim total air superiority over all of Iran. If you kind of look at the talking points, the way they're constructed, the way they're talking about it, they'll say things like dominance over the sky that we fly over. So it still could take weeks before the United States could reasonably claim total control over all of Iran. But even then, whether or not that's necessary for a potential ground invasion is another question. The United States does control some areas of the country, so we're just going to have to see where this all goes.
Matt Beiler, let's talk about what happened here in Washington yesterday. The Republican-led House rejected a Democratic-led effort to try and limit President Trump's war powers. So what does that mean for this conflict as it moves forward? Does it essentially mean that the president has authority to put boots on the ground if he wishes?
So I think there's still a bit of a question hanging over that. We're seeing a bit of a fight in Washington over specifically what powers are granted, how they're used. So the resolution that was put forward would have essentially halted the operation until Congress could deliberate on it. The vote, I think it's important to note, was 212 in favor against and 219 against, so it was close. Congressional Democrats, they were pushing for this resolution, essentially arguing that the president has embarked on an illegal war with no clear and consistent objectives. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he lobbied against the resolution, saying that it would have been a serious misstep. And he said, quote, "We are not at war. We have no intention of being at war. This is a limited operation." In this talking point, I do have to say, echoes statements made by the Russian leadership following its 2012 invasion of Ukraine that basically allowed the Kremlin to sidestep domestic criticisms and concerns by downplaying the scale of the undertaking.
Matt Bradley, let's bring you in here. You are in Israel near the Lebanese border, essentially another front of this war as Israeli Defense Forces and Hezbollah trade blows. What's the latest on the ground?
He's a very nice guy.
Do you want to do a better... There were some very mild interceptions of what looked like projectiles over my left shoulder here. And over my right shoulder here, we're so close we can hear what sounds like small arms fire. So that sounds like we're very close. Driving up here, we passed dozens and dozens of parked tanks and armored vehicles belonging to the Israeli military. All of it looked like they're mustering, getting ready to cross this border for an offensive that has really already begun, and it began days ago when Hezbollah decided to throw in their lot with the Iranians and fire on northern Israel, where I am now. Now, they said they were doing this out of vengeance for the killing of Ali Khamenei, the Ayatollah in Iran. They've also said they're doing this because the Israelis have continued to maintain at least 5 positions on hilltops in southern Lebanon. Those positions remain as the Israelis have advanced further and launched many, many strikes into Lebanon. Now, we've been seeing, according to the Israelis, they're targeting, particularly over the past day, Beirut, Lebanon's capital, particularly those Shiite and Hezbollah strongholds around that city, the neighborhood of Dahia, where we've been before, and some of the other areas around that, which, again, are Shiite Muslim Hezbollah strongholds. They've also said that they struck in just the past 24 hours targets in the eastern Bekaa Valley and, of course, southern Lebanon, which is very much where the Israelis have been concentrating. So we're seeing what looks like an expanding operation here in southern Lebanon, as in Israel, Iran's counterattacks seem to be kind of petering off. It's been a couple of days since we've seen any fatalities from any Iranian ballistic missile strikes or drone strikes, even as the Iranians say that they're continuing to attack Israel. We hear the sirens all the time in Tel Aviv, but we're not actually hearing about injuries and deaths. So it looks like, as we're seeing the situation with Iran, as far as Israel is concerned on the home front, kind of quieting a bit, the situation here is getting a whole lot louder. Guys?
So, Matt Bradley, with that in mind, we're nearly 1 week in now. We know thousands of Americans are still stuck in the Middle East. We spoke to someone yesterday who's in a hotel in Qatar, can hear explosions pretty much all day long. You mentioned you've been hearing those sirens. You've had to take shelter while on the air with us this week. What are the updates on the efforts to try and just get U.S. citizens out of the region safely?
Well, I can tell you that here in Israel, for one thing, we have to remember not everybody wants to leave. A lot of the Americans here in Israel feel safe here. Why? Well, they have an advanced warning system. They are basically have bomb shelters just about everywhere, not just in people's homes and hotels, but also along the streets. So you really are quite safe in Tel Aviv. And I mentioned those casualty numbers have badly diminished. It is a pain to get out of Israel, but there are flights that are now landing in Israel, bringing Israelis home. And according to the government, Ben Gurion International Airport should start to open for outgoing flights starting this Sunday. There are probably going to be a lot of folks who are going to say, I can endure this for another 2 days. I'll take a flight out on Sunday. However, there are people who I've spoken to who are making time-consuming and expensive diversions. I spoke with a bunch of people who were boarding a bus yesterday in central Tel Aviv. They were taking a 5-hour trip all the way down to Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. They're going to cross into Egypt and fly out of regional airports in Egypt in the hopes of eventually making it back to the States. A lot of these people I spoke with said it went well. Some of them said they were frustrated and there were snags. The fact is, here in Israel, folks are getting out.
Matt Bodner, before we let you both go, let's talk about the future of leadership in Iran. President Trump saying yesterday that he should be involved in deciding who that should be. Do we know who the leading candidates are in terms of the Ayatollah's successor with this assembly of experts, where that process stands to choose a successor this morning, and what President Trump could be referring to in terms of his involvement?
Sure. Well, we do know that the Assembly of Experts, they say that they are working on this question of picking a new supreme leader. The New York Times is reporting this morning that Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, has emerged as the leading candidate, and they're sourcing that to 3 Iranian officials familiar with those deliberations. That said, experts, observers talking to NBC News said that they expect that regardless of who comes out on top of this contest, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard will remain the real power center as things stand. We did see some comments from a member of Iran's Assembly of Experts that that's the body that will decide, saying they're working on it. They have candidates, but they're at war, so things might move slower than expected. Back to you.
Matt Bodner, Matt Bradley, thank you both very much.
There are more headlines from Tom Yamas's interview with Iran's foreign minister, who's pushing back on claims by the Pentagon that the U.S. and Israel are winning the war. During that interview, the foreign minister called the U.S. attacks on Iran a, quote, big failure, even though the U.S. has hit more than 2,000 targets and killed Ayatollah Khamenei. Tom pressed the minister on a range of issues, from Iran's internet blackouts to why it's hitting civilian targets across the region. Here's some more of that interview.
Minister Araghchi, we thank you for your time. Who is in charge of Iran right now?
Well, I think the system is working very well. We have lost a supreme leader, but according to our constitution, there is now a council which takes charge of his duties, and then the president, the cabinet, ministers, everybody is in its position. So the system is working very well, and everybody, is in charge.
There are reports that Ayatollah Khamenei's son is a front runner. Is that true?
Well, actually, I don't, exact information. There are many rumors around, but we have to wait for the assembly of experts to choose the new supreme leader.
The U.S. says it controls the skies, that Iran's ballistic missile attacks have dropped more than 80%. The U.S. has hit over 2,000 Iranian targets. The Pentagon says America is winning decisively. Do you think they're wrong?
Well, I think, now 6 days after the war, it is clear that the U.S. Has failed to achieve its main goal, which was a clean, rapid victory. They failed to achieve that, and now they are trying to justify why they did attack us.
Your supreme leader was killed. Your top military leaders were killed. Your military installations have been bombed. How can you call that a failure?
Well, then what they have achieved? What was their goal? They came here for a regime change, perhaps. They came here for a rapid victory so they can, control everything. But they have failed. The system is working. The commanders have been replaced, and the supreme leader is going to be replaced.
If I can ask you, can Iran win this war, and what does winning look like for Iran?
Well, there is no winner in this war. Our win is to be able to resist against, their illegal, goals. And this is what we have done so far.
Minister, explain to us and to the world, really, Iran has chosen to attack at least 10 other countries, many of them your Arab neighbors. None of them were involved in this war. Why are you attacking your Muslim neighbors during the holy month of Ramadan?
Oh, please don't mistake. We have not attacked our neighbors. We have not attacked Muslim countries. We have attacked Americans' targets and Americans' bases, Americans' installations, which are unfortunately located in the soils of our neighbors.
But, Minister, Iran is hitting civilian targets, striking hotels, high-rise apartments, airports in many of these countries. Those are not military targets.
Well, no, we have targeted wherever the Americans are. Maybe there have been some collateral damages, as it is in every war.
Minister, to be clear, I want to make sure I understand you here. Right now, you're saying Iran does not want a ceasefire.
We are not asking for a ceasefire. And we don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the U.S. When we negotiated with them twice, and every time they attacked us at the middle of negotiations. So there is no request for a ceasefire by us.
Inside Iran right now, we've heard that the government is cutting off the internet. Why are you closing off information for the Iranian population while this crisis is unfolding?
Well, communication is not cut. All, social networks are working here and people are connected. As I said, sometimes because of, security reasons, in order to protect our people and protect our facilities, we may cut access to internet.
What is your message to President Trump?
Well, my message is that their plan A to achieve a clean, rapid victory in Iran has failed. We heard that they are thinking of plan B. I'm sure the plan B would even a bigger failure. They lost the opportunity of reaching a deal, a good deal.
Axios, a media company in the U.S., is reporting that President Trump says he wants to be personally involved in choosing who leads Iran next. What do you say to that?
That is absolutely the business of Iranian people, and nobody can interfere.
Our thanks to Tom Yamas for that interview. Here to help us break down some of what we heard, NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren is with us again. Colonel, good to have you with us. So a big headline there, Iran basically saying it's ready if U.S. ground troops come in. The president responded telling NBC News yesterday boots on the ground would be a, quote, waste of time. So my first question is, do you actually think we will see a ground invasion? And if we do, what kind of forces does Iran have to try and defend against that?
Sure. I think a ground invasion is probably not in the cards, at least not yet. In order to conduct a ground invasion, we would need to mass probably 250,000 troops, along with all the tanks, artillery, and logistics that you need to make that happen. We haven't seen those movements begin. So I don't think a ground invasion is in the short-term plan. If there is a ground invasion, let's be clear, the Iranians do have a very large standing land army. So it would be a tough fight. But being ready for a ground invasion doesn't mean you can win in a ground invasion against the American military.
Let's talk then about this concept of regime change and how that would even be possible. I mean, you just heard Tom there asking this question about the president wanting to be involved in choosing a new leader. To be clear, he means a leader that is regime change and not the leader in which a process is playing out right now with this group called the Assembly of Experts in Iran to choose a new supreme leader, which would essentially, of course, change the individual but not change the regime. How is it possible that President Trump can even remotely be involved in installing who the leader would be without a ground operation?
It's a very tough circle to square, isn't it, or square to circle? It's hard to see how that can happen. Now, I think what the American sort of political strategy here is to create space inside of Iran for an organic uprising. Now, whether or not the president is able to influence who leads that uprising and who ends up as a leader in Iran, that remains to be seen.
We also heard the Iran foreign minister say at this point they have not asked the U.S. for a ceasefire. We're nearly a week in now, and I know there are a number of possibilities, but what are the possible ways that this could end at this point?
So right now, I think the Iranians feel that they're sort of in a corner, that they're on their deathbed, and they only have one option, which is to continue fighting. So the only way to really, I think, move from our current situation to some sort of a ceasefire is we're going to have to start introducing some sort of an off-ramp for the current regime. In other words, find a way for them to be able to surrender but survive. Because I think that now is the regime's only goal, survival.
All right. Colonel, good to have you with us. We appreciate your analysis. Thank you.
We've been here all week.
We got much more to come here on Morning News Now, including an emotional visit from a beloved member of our NBC News family.
Returning to the show, but she was here, and that felt so good.
Savannah Guthrie returning to the Today Show studio for the first time since her mom Nancy went missing. What she shared with the team about her future.
Round of severe storms possible today, threatening 29 million people from the southern plains to the Ohio River Valley. We'll show you who stays at risk into the weekend. That's coming up.
We are back with chilling new body camera video from the deadly shooting in Austin, Texas over the weekend that is being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. Police released the footage yesterday, and we want to warn you, some of what you are about to see is disturbing. It shows the moment that officers confronted and then shot the gunman. NBC News correspondent Priscilla Thompson reports.
This is the moment Austin police took down the gunman on a deadly rampage.
Stop moving! Stop moving!
The body cam released by the department shows two different angles.
Where is it? Where is it?
Police frantically searching for the shooter.
Down! Everybody down!
And returning fire.
Shots fired! Shots fired! The suspect is down!
Also released this chilling video showing the shooter in a downtown Austin parking lot with what investigators say is an AR-15 rifle. At one point, appearing to take aim.
There are people dead over here. There have been multiple people shot.
3 people were killed and 16 injured. Multiple sources say the gunman is 53-year-old Iniaga Dianye, who wore an Iranian flag shirt during the attack. The Department of Homeland Security says the Iranian flag was also found in his home. Police say the suspect's only other interaction with law enforcement was a 2022 welfare check in New York, and that they are still investigating a motive and possible nexus to terrorism.
We conducted 2 search warrants. You talk about the digital evidence and all the things that we have to do. We are not ready to talk about exactly what that nexus is.
The community remembering the victims, 19-year-old Ryder Harrington, 21-year-old Savitha Shawn, and 30-year-old George Peterson. And praising the heroic officers who returned fire that day. Priscilla Thompson, NBC News.
All right, our thanks to Priscilla for that. Well, as we approach the weekend, we are tracking some severe storms. They stretch from the southern plains to the Ohio River Valley. Over the past few days, they have brought heavy rain, large hail, and the threat of tornadoes. 29 million people are at risk of severe storms in this area today, and that number jumps to 35 million people tomorrow as the threat extends to the lower Mississippi River Valley and central Appalachia. The severe storms are already causing flooding across several states. Like in this video that we're showing you now, this is from Ohio. We could also see damaging winds. 7 tornadoes across a big area have been reported so far. 3 in Oklahoma, 3 in Kansas, 1 in Texas. Let's get a look at how this may impact your weekend, where we're heading into spring. With your Morning News Now weather, Angie Lassman's got that and some info to stay safe. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning. We are, in fact, springing forward this upcoming weekend, but that also means that we're headed into the season where severe weather is on the table, and we've been dealing with it for a couple of days now. You saw all that video of the heavy rain, the strong storms. Today, we're going to have another chance to see kind of a repeat of that in some other spots. So here's what we've got right now. Waking up this morning to some of this rain and thunderstorms working across parts of the Midwest. You can see a little bit of snow falling across the Rockies, and then farther south extending into the plains, some of those thunderstorms too. Here's what's going to happen as the day goes on. We kind of see this system shifting off to the east and north. It brings the snow and the wind across the northern plains. So we're not quite done with the wintry weather just yet for folks there. If you look farther to the south, that's where we'll see those stronger storms. So anywhere from Texas to Wisconsin, this is the area that you're going to want to specifically watch for some of these stronger stronger storms developing today, and we've got all the threats on the table, and some of that may include some stronger tornadoes. So if you live in the Kansas City area, the Fort Smith area, Oklahoma City, Omaha, stretching up to Madison, St. Louis included in there as well, those are the spots that we could see some of those stronger storms developing later today. And by the way, the potential for flooding is also there with the heavy rain associated with this. By tomorrow, we roll into your Saturday, a lot of showers, some thunderstorms as well. You can see it extends from the northeast all the way back down to the south. We'll see that highest flood threat from Texas to Mississippi, and we'll once again have the chance for some of those stronger storms to develop too. So Houston, Shreveport, Jackson for your Saturday, we will see the potential for some hail, wind gusts, and even a couple of tornadoes. And unfortunately, as we get into Sunday, we are not done with the wet weather just yet. We'll still see some rain and a couple of storms across the mid-Atlantic and heavier rain focused across the Gulf Coast. When it's all said and done, as we get through Thursday, we'll pick up a good dose of some of this rain, 1 to 2 inches across parts of the South. That's where we'll see those highest amounts. Big picture look for your weekend. If you're looking for the sunshine, it's going to be the middle of the country for Saturday, farther into the plains, and then really out west. Otherwise, it's the severe storms that stretch from the Midwest all the way down to the south that is going to get your attention, and then that flood risk across parts of the southeast as we get into Sunday. But warm conditions actually for March in a lot of spots, mid-60s across parts of the northeast. We'll see those upper 60s to low 70s for parts of the plains, and a lot of these locations are going to see the potential to break some record highs. Plenty of sunshine for our friends out west and a little bit of rain that we'll have to deal with across the Pacific Northwest.
All right, Angie Lastman, thank you so much. A lot to watch for this weekend.
A lot, indeed.
All right, we appreciate that. All right, well, here at 30 Rock, yesterday was an emotional return for our friend and colleague Savannah Guthrie as she made her first trip into the Today Show studio since her mother Nancy's disappearance more than a month ago. NBC Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas has the story.
An emotional return to the Today Show. For the first time since her mother was abducted, Savannah Guthrie stepped foot into Studio 1A, where her Today Show family was waiting with open arms. She hugged every member of the staff and crew, thanking them for the love, for the prayers, and for caring about my mom as much as I do. Going on to say, I wanted you to know that I'm still standing, and I still have hope, and I'm still me. And I don't know what version of me that will be, but it will be. Her colleagues, including her co-host, lined up to show their love and support. Savannah telling the team, I'm holding on to my faith. I still believe. Dylan Dreyer led a group prayer, which began, we're here holding hands as a family, in a place where we don't understand why this is happening. It is not too bold to ask God for the biggest miracles every day. As far as her return to the anchor desk, Savannah says, I have every intention of coming back. I don't know how to come back, but I don't know how not to. You're my family, and I would like to try. Moments later, Jenna and Chanel talked about her visit on their show.
She is beyond loved here. And so we're happy that she is home. I don't know when she's actually returning to the show, but she was here, and that felt so good.
She feels your prayers and your well wishes and all of it, and I think we just keep it going.
Yeah.
We just keep loving her.
Tom Yamas, thank you so much for that. And of course, once again, if you have any information on Nancy's disappearance, please call the tip line. It is on your screen right now, and it is just 1-800-CALL-FBI. Coming up, we have continuing coverage on the war with Iran. We'll get an update from our Richard Engel next. And a race to escape, a look at the chaos caused by the conflict as thousands of people in Lebanon are forced to evacuate. Morning News Now will be right back. We are back with the latest developments from the war on Iran. This morning, the Israeli military said it's begun a, quote, broad-scale wave of strikes on the infrastructure of what it calls the Iranian terror regime in Tehran. Israel has also launched dozens of strikes in Lebanon in an effort to target the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah there. This comes as President Trump says the U.S. is striking Iranian drone and missile systems, quote, every single hour. The U.S. warns the attacks will only intensify as the conflict nears its 1-week mark. NBC News chief international correspondent Richard Engel is in Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Richard, good morning. First, if you wouldn't mind just telling us what's happening on the ground where you are, what is the latest there?
So I'm actually in a slightly unusual location right at this very moment. I'm in Tel Aviv on the balcony of a building that was hit overnight. It was actually just hit a few hours ago, in fact. And Iran says that it is intensifying its military campaign, too, and is firing new types of more powerful weapons. And Tel Aviv was hit overnight. This city's air defense systems were very effective. Not hearing reports of many casualties, not serious casualties anyway. But one of the things that we're seeing, as soon as there is an attack against Tel Aviv or other parts of this country, volunteers spring into action. And you can see some of them behind me. These are actually high school students, 18 years old. They don't know each other. They're connected by a WhatsApp group. And as soon as there is some sort of damage like this one, they exchange messages with each other. And actually, I can ask Carney. Yes. I was talking to her a second. Do you have a second?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we're live on television now.
Okay.
So, why is it that you, and they're not your friends, but I guess they're your friends now.
No,
you
I just met them.
So why is it that you decided to do this and do this now in these circumstances?
I think it's very important. We can't just sit at our houses when our friends and our family and our friends from Israel in general get out from their house and can't live here anymore because we got attacked by rockets. My parents didn't love the idea that I will come here.
They didn't love it?
No, they didn't love it. They're scared. It's a scary feeling that you could, I don't know, your building could crash in any moment. But I insisted, and I came here, and I'm helping, and I met good friends. We are cleaning, and we are packing. We do everything that it needed.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll let you get back to your work. So that's part of the mood you do see here. This is a country where people are now going back onto the streets. There are air raid sirens. I have a flak jacket nearby. Other people are prepared to go into shelters if necessary. So if there is a warning, there are air raid sirens. I would go. The volunteers would go, would take shelter. But I have absolutely no doubt that they would come quite soon back to work and continue clearing up this debris. But this war is not only in Israel. It is intensifying and is spreading all across the region. About 15 different countries right now that are involved militarily, either attacking Iran or have been attacked, mostly been attacked by Iran. And the most intense situation right now is clearly in Lebanon, where the Israeli military is carrying out airstrikes in southern Lebanon, airstrikes against Beirut, ordered the evacuation of large neighborhoods in Beirut, ordered the evacuation of large parts of southern Lebanon, and there are hundreds of thousands of people on the move and tens of thousands of people sleeping on the streets, displaced from their homes.
Richard, really something to hear her while she's just out volunteering for neighbors and for people she doesn't even know, say that it's a scary feeling that your building could crash down at any moment, sort of that almost regular life, right, in Israel and in many places in the Middle East right now. Richard, you laid out a lot of what's happening there with Lebanon. Can you tell me kind of more broadly where the Iranian military has focused its retaliatory strikes in the past 24 hours?
Well, in the past 24 hours, they've been focused on Tel Aviv, with Iran announcing this new wave, this new campaign, which it says it's using these new types of more powerful missiles. According to the U.S. Central Command, the effectiveness of the Iranian assaults are going down dramatically, that Iran is not able to fire as many missiles and drones as it did in the first days of the war because those missile systems, those weapon systems are being destroyed. But overnight, it was mainly focused at Israel, Tel Aviv in particular, and several countries in the Gulf.
Richard Engel, please continue to stay safe, and thank those volunteers as well for telling us a little bit of their story. Well, in Beirut, Israel is intensifying its offensive attacks against Hezbollah, that Iranian-backed terror group, as Richard just told us. Last night, the Israeli Defense Forces ordered thousands of residents to evacuate their homes as it was preparing to drop more bombs on the Lebanese capital. Many families got caught in gridlock. You can see it there on your screen, right as they were trying to escape. NBC's Danielle Hamamdjian spoke with some of them who said they fear the worst.
Beirut is a city on edge and on the move. Residents fleeing a suburb of the capital that's been struck all week by Israel. Only now, it appears the IDF is about to intensify its bombing, warning hundreds of thousands of civilians. Evacuate your homes immediately. The target of those strikes, a Hezbollah stronghold. The IDF says it's hitting sites linked to the group, which is backed and funded by Iran.
People have packed whatever belongings they have, their kids, everything in the car, and they've left not knowing when they'll be able to go back to the suburb of Dahya or what they will be able to go back to.
In a country so painfully familiar with war, they've seen this play out before. But this evacuation seems unprecedented in scale, covering not a few buildings, but entire neighborhoods. One man, his wife, and 4 young children have fled a few miles north to safer ground. Like many families, they'll spend the night on the streets, watching the strikes at a distance. It's happened time and time again, he told me.
Tell me what you fear for your children.
I'm putting my faith only in God, he said. The Israeli finance minister threatening to flatten that Beirut suburb as they did in Gaza. According to the country's health ministry, more than 120 people have been killed this week across Lebanon, among them children. And in one of Beirut's biggest hospitals, the ER is quiet for now, but they're preparing for and expecting mass casualties.
What do you fear is going to happen in the next few days and weeks?
We think that we'll have a greater number of patients. We'll have a great rush of wounded people.
Danielle Hamamjian, NBC News.
Coming up, bigger than baseball, Venezuela is set to play on American soil for the World Baseball Classic, the first tournament since the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Hear from the players next on Morning News Now. We're back with a unique challenge for FIFA leaders as we approach the summer's World Cup. The Iranian national soccer team is scheduled to play in Los Angeles in just 3 months. However, with no end in sight for the war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran, it has left many fans wondering what will happen. FIFA may be able to take a few notes from the MLB. Today, Venezuela is set to play on U.S. soil for the World Baseball Classic in its first tournament since the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Some members of the team spoke with NBC News correspondent George Solis.
We've all heard the iconic line, "There's no crying in baseball." This may be the exception. That's the Venezuelan national anthem playing on U.S. soil in West Palm Beach, Florida, as the country's baseball team plays an exhibition ahead of the World Baseball Classic, a global showdown of talent and national pride. Fans supporting the Venezuelan players choking up as some of MLB's top talent watch their country's flag wave in the distance.
When you hear the national anthem of our country in a different country, that's full emotion.
The team's appearance comes with heightened uncertainty back home following the U.S. capture of Venezuela's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro. Boston Red Sox catcher and first baseman Wilson Contreras telling us about the emotion in the locker room.
You're talking to your teammates here from the country. What's the morale been like?
I mean, I think that's a huge inspiration for us. Whatever happened over there, I know it was for the best. To see Venezuela waving his flag everywhere in the world.
What feelings are you feeling seeing it wave there today?
I almost cried. That's why manager Omar Lopez says the World Baseball Classic is so much more than just a tournament.
The only thing that I can do is just control what I can control, which is work in baseball. And after that is pray for everybody, pray for every single family, and pray for the entire world.
A world that's increasingly on edge with the United States striking Iran. That war creating a new challenge for FIFA heading into the World Cup as Iran earned a place in the tournament and is set to play on U.S. soil in June. A top Iranian football official casting some doubt on the team's participation, lighting up social media.
If only there was a way to keep politics away from football, but it's the harsh reality.
And this is a big issue for the World Cup. FIFA seems to be waiting to see how the war plays out, while President Trump told Politico this week, quote, "I really don't care if Iran plays." Back at the baseball park in West Palm Beach, team assistant manager, Venezuelan legend Victor Martinez says not everyone is keen to talk about the political impact.
No, we don't talk about that, man. We just worry about baseball.
Venezuela's fans here say baseball is the great unifier.
All people in Venezuela, we are like together. The sport makes all together.
Is there a hope that you can all go back one day to visit the country?
Yeah, of course.
Many of the players know what a win this year would mean for their country.
For Latin people go to the stadium to support us, so I think it's everything for us.
the fabric of a nation on display, with each swing echoing back home. George Solis, NBC News.
The company behind Pokemon is in a head-to-head of its own against the White House. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch has our Money Minute. Hey, Emily, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Pokemon Company International says it did not give the White House permission to use an image tied to its brand. That's after the administration posted a Make America Great Again meme on social media that looks similar to the cover of the company's new game. Pokemon hasn't said whether it will take legal action, but this highlights growing criticism of the government using intellectual property and political messaging online. The White House hasn't yet responded to our request for comment. And new numbers show the auto industry is feeling the pinch from lower auto sales. According to Cox Automotive, 52% of dealers say the economy is the top factor holding back businesses, with car makers selling 1.19 million cars in February. That's down 3.4% from last year. With the average new car now costing more than $49,000, affordability is still a concern. But the good news is a majority of dealers do expect the market to improve in the next 3 months. And if you like to eat and want to get paid for it, Wendy's has a solution. The chain is launching a contest to hire a chief tasting officer who will be paid, wait for it, $100,000. That's to eat, create promotional content, and potentially appear in ads. To apply, people must either post a video showing why they're fit for the role on TikTok or Instagram, or they can submit their video on the Wendy's website. That's by March 30th. Savannah, getting paid $100,000 just to eat, create content. That sounds like a fun job to me.
No kidding. I'm a Wendy's fan, so we'll have to see about that. All right, Emily, thank you so much. Coming up, one of the most iconic homes in TV is now officially a part of history, right, Joe?
Yeah, that's right, Savannah. You probably recognize it. The beloved Brady Bunch house is finally getting landmark status. More on the move, what it means, next on Morning News Now.
Good morning. Thank you for being with us on this Friday. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Pryor. Right now on Morning News Now, under siege, a new wave of violent strikes rattling Iran's capital, Tehran, overnight. Just hours after President Trump downplayed a possible ground invasion there, calling it a waste of time in a phone call with NBC News. Iran's foreign minister speaking exclusively with our Tom Yamas yesterday, provoking that reaction from the commander-in-chief.
You were waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
We've got team coverage as Iran's state media puts the death toll at nearly 1,000 lives. Back home, a Trump administration shakeup that's reverberating across Washington and beyond. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem fired by the president. It's an eye-opening punctuation mark on Noem's grueling week of congressional testimony that brought some controversial actions taken as secretary to light. More on what the future holds for the former South Dakota governor and the conservative firebrand who President Trump is now tapping to take her place. Plus, America's labor market back in focus this morning. We're going to dig into a brand new read on the big industries that are hiring, those that aren't, and of course, what it all means for your bottom line. And more than a month after her mother's heartbreaking disappearance, our own Savannah Guthrie makes an emotional return to Studio 1A. Her latest message of hope and faith as the desperate search for Nancy Guthrie continues. Powerful moment there for our friends in 1A that was filled with just prayer and tears, a lot of hugs and positive messages. We'll have more on that in a little bit. Let's begin this hour with the expanding war in the Middle East. The U.S. and Israel continue to hammer Iran with strikes this morning. Overnight, Israel launched a new wave of attacks on what it's calling the infrastructure of the Iranian terrorist regime in Tehran.
Iran is vowing revenge, warning the U.S. will, quote, bitterly regret that torpedo attack on an Iranian ship in the Indian Ocean. Well, speaking with NBC Nightly news anchor Tom Yamas, Iran's foreign minister said Iran has not asked for a ceasefire, rejecting negotiations with the U.S. Meanwhile, thousands of Americans remain stranded in the Middle East as Iran expands its retaliatory strikes. Europe is now sending military assets to the region as drone strikes near its borders. NBC News chief international correspondent Richard Engel is in Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Hi, Richard. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. So I am in Tel Aviv, as you mentioned, this morning, and in front of a building that was damaged just a short while ago. And volunteers are already here trying to clean up some debris. And this conflict is spreading well beyond Iran. We are only 1 week into this conflict. 15 countries already are either being attacked by Iran or attacking Iran. And there are no indications that it is slowing down.
The Pentagon released new video, including a fighter jet targeting an Iranian drone-carrying ship, as the U.S. and Israeli militaries say they're targeting Iran's missiles, security forces, and senior leaders 24/7. A video analysis by the New York Times suggests the U.S. was most likely also responsible for hitting an elementary school earlier this week, located near a Revolutionary Guard compound. Iranian officials say more than 165 people were killed. The Pentagon says it's investigating. While Iran keeps firing at Israel and the Gulf, U.S. Central Command says Iran's rate of fire is going down dramatically.
Ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one.
The White House's messaging is more theatrical, releasing an unusual Hollywood-style war promotion trailer with combat footage intercut with action movie clips.
Flawless victory.
The dumb, politically correct wars of the past were the opposite of what we're doing here.
The Israeli military says it's now entering a new, more intense phase of this war. The country's top commander, General Eyal Zamir, who led the controversial Gaza war, said, "We have additional surprises." President Trump says the U.S. war against Iran will continue until its government is fundamentally changed, telling NBC News he has ideas for who the next leader should be. Iran's foreign minister telling NBC's Tom Yamas that's none of America's business, and that if the U.S. does invade with ground forces, Iran is ready.
President Trump has not ruled out boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade the ground troops?
Yes, because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
Responding to the Iranian foreign minister, President Trump said that he's not thinking about sending in ground troops at this time.
All right, Richard, thank you very much.
Here to help us make sense of the ongoing war with Iran, we have NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren with us once again. So there were some closed-door meetings with lawmakers this week, and Trump administration officials discussed the possibility of using the Defense Production Act to make some more munitions. That's according to 3 people who are familiar with those discussions. Why would that be? Should Americans be worried that we'd run low on those things? What would that mean for what's happening overseas?
It's a really great question, and I think there is some confusion about it. So I think, number one, when there's offense and defense, when we're talking about offensive weapons, keep in mind that the military doesn't count the number of bombs or missiles we have. They count the number of targets. Then they conduct an analysis and figure out which weapon's best. If one's running low, we've got plenty of others. So I think the message that people should understand is we're not going to run out of bullets. On the defensive side, there is some concern maybe that some of our most high-tech interceptors are running low, but we have a very deeply layered defense. So high-tech interceptors, medium-tech interceptors, short-range interceptors, a lot of different ways we can shoot down enemy missiles.
Colonel, I want to ask you about the Iron Dome, something that we've talked about quite a bit since the attacks of October 7th, but I think a good reminder just on how it works. We just had Richard Engel with us in our last hour. He shared with us how it's really receiving the bulk of these retaliatory strikes from Iran, and yet not many of them break through that Iron Dome. Tell us how it works, and also how successful it actually is, how susceptible Israel could be to some breaking through.
It's an exceptionally good system. Think of it really as 3 domes, one dome on top of another. Iron Dome is the closest in. It's the smallest of the 3 domes. It's good for shooting down low-tech missiles, rockets that Hezbollah would fire, etc. Next, you have David's Sling and the Arrow system. These are consecutively larger missile domes, anti-missile domes, and each one is consecutively more sophisticated, able to shoot down the long-range Iranian shots.
We know this morning the Kurdish regional government is denying reports that it's planning to arm Kurdish opposition groups, send them into Iran. This comes after NBC reported Wednesday the Trump administration was weighing that option. I mean, what would that mean if that happened? What's the stake those Kurdish opposition groups have in what happens in Iran?
Sure, the Kurds want their own homeland, and they're sort of the historical Kurdish areas, spread from Iran to Iraq to parts of Turkey and even into Syria. So the Kurds in Iran or in Iraq that want to move into Iran would help to destabilize the Iranian government, which then sort of feeds into the idea of let's get a regime change. So it'll cause the Iranian staff to reallocate resources and capabilities to deal with the Kurdish uprising.
All right. Colonel, thank you for helping us make sense of everything. We appreciate it.
Let's get more now from our interview with Iran's foreign minister, where he defended the country's response and insisted Iran is ready for any escalation, including a possible U.S. ground invasion.
Here's part of that exclusive conversation with Nightly News anchor Tom Yamas.
Who is in charge of Iran right now?
We have lost a supreme leader, but according to our constitution, there is now a council which takes charge of his duties. And then the president, the cabinet, ministers, everybody is in its position. So the system is working very well, and everybody, is in charge.
Right now, you're saying Iran does not want a ceasefire.
We are not asking for a ceasefire, and we don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the U.S. When we negotiated with them twice, and every time they attacked us at the middle of negotiations.
What is your message to President Trump?
They lost the opportunity of reaching a deal, a good deal. So there is no way that they can win this war. As long as it takes, we resist. So they better to stop this war and stop killing our people.
Let's bring in NBC News contributor Homeland, an Iranian-born American journalist and author who focuses on Iranian affairs. Homeland, thank you for being back with us this morning. So one of the big themes in this interview with the foreign minister was him insisting that essentially the system in many ways is still functioning, that the commanders have been replaced, the process to choose a new supreme leader is moving forward, and even going as far as to say that their military is ready for any potential ground invasion. Obviously sort of projecting this message of strength as if nothing is wrong. What do you make of that?
Well, I think, it's obviously they have been weakened. There's no question about that. You lose your top person, the head of the government, or head of the regime, and you lose some of your top generals. Yes, they are weakened. And I think he admitted that in a way, but he also wanted to project stability. And there is some level of stability that is true. This council is three people. It's the president of Iran, who's still alive and still there. It's the head of the judiciary, who's alive and still there, and an Ayatollah from the Assembly of Experts, who would be one of the people who's going to choose the new supreme leader. So it is functioning. We have seen photographs and images of the three meeting, obviously in apparently underground bunkers, various places that don't appear to have daylight, artificial light. So that's understandable. But yes, they are functioning, and these are very powerful people. There's also the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, who is also a ex-IRGC member, Ali Larijani, who is sort of someone who would be coordinating some of the military aspects of Iran. There's Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, who is a former IRGC general as well, commander as well, and he's the head Speaker of the Parliament. I'm sorry. He's also involved in coordination, military coordination. So yes, there is some level of stability. There is an ability, as we can see, by their commanders in the IRGC to fire back, to shoot, send off drones, to shoot missiles. And although, our military says the number of missiles, ballistic missiles, has decreased by 90% over the last few days, it is entirely possible that they're saving some of their missiles in case this war goes on for much longer than was anticipated.
Homeland, Tom also pressed the foreign minister on reports of these internet restrictions, efforts to just limit communication inside Iran, something we have seen for years. Let's listen to that.
Why are you closing off information for the Iranian population while this crisis is unfolding?
Well, this is not the case. almost, all Iranians have access to social networks. In some cases, for security reasons, we have, cut access to internet. Please do not forget that we are in the middle of a war, a very extensive war, and war has its own, rules and procedures.
So controlling information, talk about the role that plays for the Iranian government here, and what does it tell us about how Iran just manages information in any sort of crisis?
Well, generally, I mean, Iran has a pretty good internet infrastructure. People rely on the internet. Banking, because of inflation, means, cash currency is useless almost. You'd have to carry a briefcase to buy an apple, for example. So they use the internet for banking. They use it for, there's no Uber and there's no Amazon in Iran for obvious reasons, sanctions, but they have their version of a Uber. So there's, it's called Snap. They have their version of Amazon, Digicall. So all these all rely on the internet. And he's not wrong that there is some level of internet connectivity. And because you have to remember that Iran also has its own internal internet. It's intranet, I guess, which they've established over years. So there is some connectivity. But in terms of managing information, there's two aspects to it. One is at times of crisis, uprisings, big protests, internet is either throttled or cut off altogether. And part of that reason is sort of, again, obvious. They believe, as Israel has boasted, and we have boasted occasionally, that we have agents on the ground. We have, and so that there are enemy agents on the ground. Let's try to stop their communication. That's one aspect, controlling the enemy, or even internal enemies, again, anti-regime enemies. The second aspect is not allowing people to coordinate, for example. If you want, 10,000 people to show up at a square, you need to use the internet. You need to use your cell phone to be able to coordinate among people. And that's the other reason they throttle or kill the internet. And now during wartime, obviously, they are very concerned about sabotage. They're very concerned about agents on the ground, a possible ground invasion, as you heard. The foreign minister said they're ready for that, but a ground invasion would probably mean special forces going in first. Anyway, if you have an ability to shut down electronic communication to the extent that you can, and they understand people have Starlink terminals, there are other ways to communicate, and certainly the U.S. military probably has satellite phones and things like that. But at least on an internal level, they can control to some extent what happens on the ground.
All right, Houman Maj, thank you so much.
In Washington, President Trump is shaking up his cabinet. The president fired Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem after months of plunging poll numbers and fierce public backlash over the administration's mass deportation strategy. NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake has more on the move and who's might come next. Garrett, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. When I spoke with President Trump last night, he told me there was no single reason he decided to replace Kristi Noem at the Department of Homeland Security, and he praised the work that she had done on the border. But his frustration was plainly evident at her Senate testimony this week, in which she claimed she had his blessing for a more than $200 million ad campaign starring herself. And now Noem is the first cabinet secretary to be fired in this second Trump term. Kristi Noem out as head of Homeland Security, the first cabinet member to be fired in President Trump's second term. The president announcing her firing on social media. The news coming as Noem was on stage at a law enforcement conference. She did not address the firing. An administration official tells NBC News the move was due to a culmination of Noem's, quote, many unfortunate leadership failures. Most recently, a grilling on Capitol Hill over a $220 million border security ad campaign that featured her prominently.
But if you come here the right way, your American dream can be as big as these endless skies.
Pressed over whether the president approved it.
Did the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But last night in a phone interview, President Trump telling me about the spending, quote, I wasn't thrilled with it. I spent less money than that to become president. I didn't know about it. Noem's place in the administration became increasingly unstable following the fatal shootings of two Americans, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, by federal agents during immigration operations in Minneapolis. The former secretary also heavily criticized for purchasing a luxury plane that DHS claimed would be used for deportation flights, and also under scrutiny in Congress for allegations of an inappropriate relationship with a subordinate staffer, Corey Lewandowski, which she called tabloid garbage. The news of her departure drawing bipartisan praise.
Kristi Noem is gone. Good riddance.
She has completely destroyed the high ground that Republicans had.
The president naming Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma to the post, who was caught off guard by the timing of the announcement.
When did you find out, sir? A little bit before you guys did.
Mullen, a former MMA fighter, served for a decade in the House before he won a 2022 special election in the Senate. Noem responded to her firing with a social media post thanking the president for moving her into a new special envoy role and highlighting her work to secure the border. As for Mullen, he'll now need Senate approval to take over that top DHS spot, which should take a few weeks. His department is still shut down this morning amid that standoff with Democrats over its funding. Savannah, Joe.
All right, Garrett, thank you.
Back here in New York, it was an emotional day yesterday as Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie made her first visit to Studio 1A since her mother went missing 34 days ago.
And in typical Savannah style, she brought a heartfelt message of faith and resilience while announcing that she is planning to return to the show at some point in the future. Today, anchor Craig Melvin has more.
Amid the search for Nancy Guthrie, the country and our own colleagues have rallied around Savannah and her family to share messages of love and hope. And on Thursday, Savannah surrounded by support in Studio 1A for the first time since Nancy's disappearance. The morning met with a swell of emotions as she embraced our Today Show family, thanking the team for caring about my mom as much as I do. Savannah's inner strength shining through as she spoke, telling us, I wanted you to know that I'm still standing and I still have hope and I'm still me. I don't know what version of me that will be, but it will be. Savannah, resilient, saying she plans to return to today. I have every intention of coming back. I don't know how to come back, but I don't know how not to. You're my family, and I would like to try. Then Dylan leading us in a moving prayer for Nancy, saying we're here holding hands as a family in a place where we don't understand why this is happening. It is not too bold to ask God for the biggest miracles every day.
We have had a powerful morning.
Also yesterday, Jenna and Chanel opening up about Savannah's plans to come back to the show.
Even though it feels like the hardest thing to do, it's also her home and where she feels so loved, and she is beyond loved here.
I hugged her and I'm like, you know what? You are here. Mm-hmm. And we love you. Yeah. Everyone loves you. And whenever you're ready, we are here.
Savannah has spent much of the past 34 days with her family in Arizona, only stepping out in public once to read messages of support. But through it all, she's expressed her deep gratitude online.
We know that millions of you have been praying. So many people have been praying of every faith and no faith at all, praying for her return, and we feel those prayers.
Savannah making it clear, despite this harrowing ordeal, her faith in God has not wavered. I'm holding on to my faith, she told us. I still believe. And as my mom would say, where else would I go?
Words can't express what it meant to everyone here at NBC to have her here in person after these last 5 weeks, to hug her, to hear from her, and to know that we're ready to welcome her back whenever she's ready for that return. And that sense of humor is still there despite everything she's gone through. You can still see Savannah.
Absolutely. It's just so incredible, too, just the way that she's relying on her faith. And it's like in these moments, right, it's like she's showing us, not telling us, and it's really incredible to see. We love you, Savannah. All right, there's much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including continuing coverage of the war in Iran. Israel now leveling strikes against neighboring Lebanon. We will take you back to the region a little later.
Plus, a new jobs report out just this morning. We'll dig into the numbers, what it could all mean for your wages and your wallet.
But up first, severe storms and heavy rain in the forecast yet again today, plus record highs into the weekend. All those details after the break.
We're back with a look at the severe weather that is washing out parts of the country this morning. Torrential rain over the last 48 hours has led to dangerously high water levels from Texas up to the Ohio River Valley. There are also reports of several tornadoes across the southern plains, while millions will remain at risk for more threatening storms in the coming days. NBC News correspondent George Solis is in Oklahoma with the latest on all of it. George, good morning.
Hey, Joe, good morning to you. We're here in northern Oklahoma at the site of what officials believe was a suspected tornado. And why do they say suspected? Well, if you look behind me, you might be able to see some downed power lines here. This is just a fragment of miles from officials here telling me that we're down by this storm system. And unfortunately, officials reporting what they believe to be a death related to this storm. A mom and her teenage daughter that were in a vehicle that may have been blown away by these severe winds. Officials saying it is, of course, a tragedy in this community. And with more severe weather on the way, officials just bracing for more.
Overnight, tornadoes touching down in the southern plains. This large twister spotted tearing across northern Oklahoma. One of several reported in the state, scattering debris. Oklahoma also hit by severe storms.
We got heavy damage down the road and trees blocking paths.
The torrential rain leading to flooding across several states. Parts of Ohio seeing up to 7 inches of rain, causing local creeks and rivers to swell. An animal shelter in Greensburg, Indiana, that normally looks out at green pastures, had to evacuate animals as waters rose dangerously close to the building. A similar scene across southern parts of the state. Some roads washed away. Texas also hit by a tornado and wild weather. Wednesday night's heavy rain turning this structure in Dallas County into a crumbled mess of steel.
There was a buildup of water on the rooftop, and which caused the structure to collapse.
All 7 workers inside managed to escape without injuries. Some parts of the country enjoying warmer than normal temperatures, with some nearly 25 degrees above average for this time of year. Nearly 30 cities expected to hit record highs.
Yeah, and you might be able to tell, Joe, it's also fairly windy. There's also a number of road closures in this community alone, especially as crews are working to pick up some of those downed power lines. The sheriff here telling me about 3 miles worth just in this area alone. So with the potential for more severe weather on the way, officials just bracing for what could be a very busy weekend for many workers here. Joe?
Reminder for everyone, including you, George, continue to stay safe.
For more details now on this severe weather and what to expect going into the weekend, let's check on your Morning News Now weather.
Angie Lastman's here with the forecast. Angie, good morning.
Hi, guys. Happy Friday. A lot going on as we roll into the weekend, and already starting with some of these thunderstorms centered across parts of the Midwest. That's going to ramp up and be more widespread as the day goes on. So here's how it all plays out. Notice we're still dealing with some wintry weather across parts of the northern plains. Wind will also be associated with that. And then on the southern half of this storm system, we've got some of those stronger storms. Anywhere from Texas to Wisconsin is kind of the bullseye of where we're looking at the potential for those developing as the day goes on. It's going to be in kind of 2 sections. We'll have the afternoon where you'll see the better chance for some tornadoes and damaging hail. And then into the overnight hours, we'll see that wind threat kind of ramp up and take center stage. Here's the areas that I really want you to make sure that you have a way to get alerts. Kansas City stretching down to Fort Smith, at Atoka, those locations farther south where you see the orange shading, you have a chance to see EF2s or higher. So we could see some of these strong tornadoes developing into the afternoon hours today. Otherwise, all threats on the table. Even as we get into the overnight hours, we'll see that wind be something we're concerned about. Tomorrow doesn't go away. We've still got a whole lot of showers and storms on the move to the east, and that flood threat from Texas to Mississippi. Again, not quite as widespread of a severe weather threat tomorrow, but still we could see some of those popping up into the afternoon hours for your Saturday with a storm or a tornado or 2 possible. So heads up for your Saturday plans. Big picture look for the rainfall. I think 1 inch, maybe 2 inches in some of these spots. And we could, by the time we get into next week, see the potential for up to 5 inches in some of these areas. And I hate to be, I don't know, am I the bearer of bad news or not? But just a friendly reminder that we're springing forward this weekend. 2 a.m. turns to 3 a.m. And also a reminder, it's daylight saving time. I cannot take it when people say daylight savings.
No,
There's no S, people.
No S. No S.
And don't forget
I feel like I'm with the daylight savings police right now between the two of you.
Saving police.
This is also the earliest it can actually be if it does feel early to you. And also, we saw the cherry blossoms there, which are coming out in, what, June or July this year?
Right, I know. We're all mixed up. We are all mixed up.
Should I take over so you guys can talk about daylight saving?
Saving.
Go somewhere else.
Daylight saving.
Madness. Thanks. You got it. All right. Pop star Britney Spears is facing new legal trouble this morning. The singer was arrested on Wednesday in Southern California on suspicion of driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Authorities say a BMW was reported driving erratically on the freeway before Spears was pulled over in that black BMW and given field sobriety tests. She was later released, and officials say the incident remains under investigation. NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal joins us now from L.A. with more. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Savannah. So Britney Spears was released early Thursday morning, and her representative told NBC News that this was an unfortunate incident that is completely inexcusable.
Pop icon Britney Spears arrested on suspicion of DUI involving drugs and alcohol, according to multiple law enforcement sources, who also say an unknown substance was found in her car.
Black sedan, erratic braking, swerving, and driving with no taillight.
The dispatcher is heard requesting a drug recognition expert at around 9:30 p.m. Wednesday in Southern California. According to authorities, it was another driver who called 911.
The solo occupant, Ms. Spears, showed signs of impairment and submitted to a series of field sobriety tests.
Spears' car was towed, and she was taken to jail, then released the next morning. The arrest comes after a flood of videos posted recently on her Instagram account. Most of them show her dancing alone in her home, but her account has since been deleted. In a statement, a representative for Britney Spears saying, Britney is going to take the right steps and comply with the law, and hopefully this can be the first step in long overdue change that needs to occur in Britney's life. Hopefully she can get the help and support she needs during this difficult time. The arrest also comes 5 years after fans rallied to free Britney from her conservatorship, the movement captured in the New York Times documentary Framing Britney Spears. Her fans celebrating the end of her court-ordered arrangement, which was granted by a judge in 2021. In her best-selling 2023 memoir, The Woman in Me, she also detailed how nearly every aspect of her life was controlled by others, including her 4-year Vegas residency, which she talked about on Today in 2016.
I don't really see it as a comeback. I think I've never really left. I've always been here.
And the representative for Britney Spears also says her 2 adult children are going to be spending time with her, adding that her loved ones are going to come up with an overdue needed plan to set her up for success for well-being. She is expected in court in relation to this arrest on May 4th. Savannah.
All right, Camila, thank you so much.
Coming up, we're going to go back to the Middle East with the very latest on the war with Iran.
We'll take you to the northern Israel border right there with Lebanon as Israel batters Beirut with a fresh barrage of strikes. We're on the ground there next.
We are back with the latest developments out of the Middle East. Overnight, Israel launched a new wave of attacks targeting the capital cities of Lebanon and Iran. The intense overnight bombardment is adding to intensifying fears among residents in Beirut. It's because the Israeli military ordered thousands of residents to evacuate the Lebanese capital last night. Iran is escalating its retaliatory campaign with a new round of strikes across the region, including in Tel Aviv. NBC News International correspondent Matt Bradley is in Israel near the Lebanese border with the latest. Matt, good morning.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what we're seeing here. Actually, there were some very mild interceptions of what looked like projectiles over my left shoulder here. And over my right shoulder here, we're so close we can hear what sounds like small arms fire. So that sounds like we're very close. Driving up here, we passed dozens and dozens of parked tanks and armored vehicles belonging to the Israeli military. All of it looked like they're mustering, getting ready to cross this border for an offensive that has really already begun, and it began days ago when Hezbollah decided to throw in their lot with the Iranians and fire on northern Israel, where I am now. Now, they said they were doing this out of vengeance for the killing of Ali Khamenei, the Ayatollah in Iran. They've also said they're doing this because the Israelis have continued to maintain at least 5 positions on hilltops in southern Lebanon. Those positions remain as the Israelis have advanced further and launched many, many strikes into Lebanon. Now, we've been seeing, according to the Israelis, they're targeting, particularly over the past day, Beirut, Lebanon's capital, particularly those Shiite and Hezbollah strongholds around that city, the neighborhood of Dahia, where we've been before, and some of the other areas around that, which, again, are Shiite Muslim Hezbollah strongholds. They've also said that they struck in just the past 24 hours targets in the eastern Bekaa Valley and, of course, southern Lebanon, which is very much where the Israelis have been concentrating. So we're seeing what looks like an expanding operation here in southern Lebanon, as in Israel, Iran's counterattacks seem to be kind of petering off. It's been a couple of days since we've seen any fatalities from any Iranian ballistic missile strikes or drone strikes, even as the Iranians say that they're continuing to attack Israel. We hear the sirens all the time in Tel Aviv, but we're not actually hearing about injuries and deaths. So it looks like, as we're seeing the situation with Iran, as far as Israel is concerned on the home front, kind of quieting a bit, the situation here is getting a whole lot louder. Guys?
All right, thank you, Matt. Coming up, America's labor market back in the national spotlight this morning. A brand new jobs report just out. So what is the broader state of America's economy as we head into the spring? The numbers are pretty stunning. We're going to dig into it all next. We are back with some breaking economic data, and it is big. The U.S. economy unexpectedly lost 92,000 jobs in February. The unemployment rate inched higher to 4.4%. Let's get right to it. NBC News senior business correspondent Kristi is here to break down the numbers, along with Caleb Silver. He's Investopedia's editor-in-chief and chief business editor of People Inc. Good morning to both of you. Christine, not what we were expecting. We thought, maybe a gain of 50,000, not a drop of nearly 100,000. Walk us through the numbers.
This is a soft patch in hiring, and there are some revisions here to tell you about. So we're talking about February. You actually had a loss of 92,000 jobs in the month. That was not expected at all. That was after last month was really only 126, and this was not a gain at all in December. This was another loss of about 17,000 jobs. Sorry, my proportions are not great, but you can see what this trend looks like here. That is what we saw last year. Last year, we saw an economy that was basically at a standstill in terms of job creation. The weakest job creation last year of any year that wasn't a recession since 2003. Then we thought there was this momentum in January, but it looks like it really has faded here. Bad weather, you had some healthcare strikes, and you just had companies, frankly, that have been grappling with trade and tariff issues and kind of just all kinds of cross currents in the economy for months now that don't look like they were hiring.
Caleb, what's your reaction to this? What does it tell us about the jobs market right now?
Yeah, we were in a slow hire, slow fire environment. Now I feel like it's melting a little bit when you see these steep revisions and then you see a big drop. Now, February is seasonally weak, generally speaking, and it was cold and there were strikes. But still, this shows that more companies are letting go of workers. Might be in 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 here, but the momentum is picking up, and this jobless rate, still only at 4.4%, is not an accurate reflection of how sensitive people feel about the labor economy right now. It's not in good shape.
Christine, when we look at it by industry, what is it we're seeing?
Yeah, you're looking at healthcare job losses there. I'm going to put this back on here so you can see where that jobless rate is. Historically, still 4.4%, still. I mean, that's still pretty good, but going in the wrong direction here. You saw information jobs lost, you guys. You saw federal government, no surprise, 10,000 jobs lost there. That's because that's on purpose. That's because this administration is trying to lay off and cut federal government jobs. Social services up 9,000, but leisure and hospitality down 27,000. That could very well because of cold weather as well. But we're going to need to watch this very, very carefully, you guys, because there's so much going on in the economy for consumers to be worried about. Especially now with new upheaval in the Middle East. And you've had for a long time what economists call a no hire, no fire kind of job market. It looks like there might have been a little bit more firing.
Yeah, and Christine, obviously, February 28th is when the war with Iran started, so these job numbers are not impacted at all by this. But on top of that, we have the surging oil prices. I mean, talk about what we're seeing with that and that mix of this jobs report plus the oil numbers, what that means for the economy.
Yeah, well, we've got wages that are still growing faster than inflation, so that's really important here. But the backdrop of all of this is energy prices that are rising very, very quickly. You've got energy prices here that are at $85 a barrel for crude oil today. Just think of this. It's 67 is where before the strikes in Iran. And you've got gas prices that continue to charge higher very, very quickly. That's going to be something that consumers, consumers and businesses will be grappling with in the days ahead.
Caleb, is this a conundrum for the Federal Reserve now?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to get an inflation report next week that's going to reflect some of these rising oil prices. Won't capture it completely, but you have rising prices and you have a slowing labor market. That's what we call stagflation. That puts the Fed in a tough spot. They're probably not going to do anything until we get a new Fed chair, and the president has formally nominated Kevin Warsh. He'll wait till June maybe for a rate cut, but they're in a tough spot right now. The economy is weakening.
All right, Caleb and Christine breaking down this breaking news for us. Thank you both. Even more money news now. A couple dozen states are taking a major stand against President Trump's tariffs. NBC News business and economy reporter Emily Lorsch is here with your Money Minute. Good morning, Emily.
Good morning, Joe. That's right. More than 20 states have filed a lawsuit challenging the administration's plan to impose tariffs of up to 15% on imports, arguing the move oversteps presidential authority. They also say it could drive up costs for states, businesses, and consumers. The tariffs were issued under a section of the Trade Act of 1974 that's never been invoked before. After the Supreme Court struck down tariffs the president imposed last year under an emergency powers law. Now the case heads to the Court of International Trade in New York. Over in Massachusetts, the road to the World Cup may have hit a roadblock. 7 games planned for Gillette Stadium in Foxborough are now uncertain after delayed federal security funding has left the town worried taxpayers could face nearly $8 million in costs. Cities were promised more than $600 million in grants, but the government says a funding lapse and furloughed staff has slowed distribution. And move over snacks and sodas. It seems some tech companies are leaning into other perks, nicotine products, to incentivize employees and maybe even increase efficiency. Startups Lucy Nicotine and Sesh are making branded vending machines filled with flavored products that are in some offices, like at the analytics company Palantir Technologies, according to the Wall Street Journal. It's sparking debate about how far companies should go to enhance performance. Now, Joe, I think these days you give employees anything for free, and they are excited with the uncertainty in the economy right now.
Yeah, but that's quite a debate right there. All right, Emily, thank you so much. Less than 2 weeks after Americans brought home 33 medals from the Winter Olympics, the Games are not over just yet. It's now the Paralympians' turn to go for gold in Italy. The opening ceremony will kick off the festivities today at the historic Verona Arena. This will mark the 50th anniversary of the first Paralympic Winter Games. It's also shaping up to be the largest one on record, with more than 600 athletes hitting the snow and ice. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is on the ground in Cortina with more. Emily, good morning. That is a postcard picture for you right there. I mean, you've covered a lot of winter storms here in the U.S., so I know you're prepared for whatever conditions are thrown at you. Tell us about the excitement brewing over there and what events are going to be on display during these games.
Joe, I know I don't have to tell you that literally here in northern Italy, it is a postcard picture anywhere you turn. Views like this. We're also seeing a whole lot of this red, white, and blue with families who had made the trip 12 hours, even 24 hours to come and witness this historic games. As you mentioned, the 50th anniversary of the Winter Paralympics. What else you're going to see is this behind me right here, the Agitos. This is the Paralympic symbol that represents Paralympians who have a range of disabilities and their strong will. They're always moving forward, upward, and never giving up. More than 600 Paralympians from all sorts of countries will be competing across 6 different adaptive sports. Here in Cortina, there's wheelchair curling along with para-alpine skiing and snowboarding. In Tessera, which is where we are heading next, there's para-cross-country skiing and biathlon. And then in Milan, which will be our last stop, yes, we get to see all 3 of the cities, sled hockey. And they are going for a record 5th gold in a row. Pretty unheard of, huh, Joe?
And hockey's a big deal right now here in America. So, Emily, the opening ceremony kicking off today in Verona, where we saw the closing ceremony a few weeks ago. What should we know about the flag bearers for Team USA?
The 2 flag bearers voted on and chosen by Team USA are Laurie Stevens and Josh Pauls. These are 2 veteran athletes. Laurie Stevens actually made her Paralympic debut 20 years ago in Torino, so we will see her zipping down the mountain for a final time before she retires on a sit ski or a mono ski. Then also there's Josh Pauls, team captain, para ice hockey legend. He is going for trying to become the very first sled hockey player to win 5 consecutive gold golds. And to your point, they are hoping to continue some of that success that we saw during the Olympics with both the men's and women's team bringing home those golds, Joe.
In all, we have 72 Americans representing Team USA over the next 10 days in Milan. I know you've had a chance to chat with some of those athletes. Who are they? Who should we keep an eye on?
Yeah. Okay, well, who should we keep an eye on? You're going to have to stop me because I could just keep going. As I mentioned, sled hockey, that's going to be a big one, especially in Milan. Here in Cortina, you want to keep an eye on para-alpine skier Andrew Kirka, a couple of para-snowboarders, including Brenna Huckabee, who is on the cusp of making history. She's trying to become the most decorated para-snowboarder. She is a mom of 2. She also is a mom of a cat. She was sure to tell me her entire snowboard plastered in her kitten, which is really funny. She says that helps kind of lighten the mood when she's on the mountain in such a serious big moment. There are also some Paralympians making their debut. Imagine the excitement, their first time on the world stage like this with all eyes on them, including Kelsey O'Driscoll, who's from New Jersey. She's competing on the slopes as a para-alpine skier exactly 5 years after she was injured. She broke her back in 2 places, but she says that her journey in adaptive sports has made her so grateful, and to be here, she got emotional when trying on the first kit, the red, white, and blue of Ralph Lauren. And then, so there's the newbies, and then there are also the veterans, both Erin Pike and Oksana Masters. They are competing. This will be their 8th Paralympics. Wrap your mind around that. Just so much success. Oksana Masters, I'm sure you've heard her name, 19-time Paralympic medalist. So there's so much excitement on the ground here, Joe.
That is very cool. Looking forward to all of it and keeping an eye out for the cat. All right, Emily, thank you so much. All you weathered Morning News Now viewers out there know it's time for a trip to Hollywood with the latest and greatest from the world of entertainment right as you kick off the weekend. Who better to share a bowl of AM popcorn with than our own Kay Ingram? She joins us next with the coming attractions. Stick around. Finally this hour, it's Friday, which means it's time for your weekly can't-miss list to look at all the films, shows, and songs you need to see and hear this week. And joining us again this week, NBC New York digital reporter Kay Ingram. All right, let's start with the one that is getting great reviews.
Let's do it.
Hoppers, 96 on Rotten Tomatoes for Pixar. Some are saying this is perhaps one of the best movies they've done, which is saying something.
I am so excited about this. Yes, Disney and Pixar, they are back with this new original animated adventure. And so essentially, if you've ever wanted to know what the world of animals were like, if you wish you could communicate with them, that's what's happening in this film. So we've got Mabel, she's an animal lover, and essentially scientists have created this way where human consciousness can be transferred into this robot, but still kind of lifelike animal.
Okay.
And so you go down, you're able to communicate, and she finds some surprising mysteries that are bountiful in the animal world
Also
via
just
this.
adorable, right?
I know, cute little beaver.
All right, another film getting a lot of buzz this week is The Bride, with an exclamation point, so you have to scream it. The Bride!
The Bride!
It's Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial debut. We've got Jessie Buckley, who, let's be clear, in a little over a week is going to win an Oscar. Christian Bale, he's already got an Oscar. It's the Frankenstein story, which we all know, but a different perspective, right?
Yes, different perspective. This one is a Gothic reimagining. So kind of think of, like the Joker meets the classic Frankenstein. You're getting that social commentary, provocativeness of it. And so this is definitely going to be a talker. Essentially, we find ourselves in 1930 Chicago. We've got the woman, she's murdered, the scientists, they bring her back to life. And so there goes your bride. It's Gothic, it's gloomy, it's satire, it's a little bit of everything, but it's an old story reimagined present day.
And in the Windy City, how cool is that? Yes. All right, another horror film that's got a social message is Slanted. It's being called an unapologetically satirical view of race. What's it about?
So it's about this Asian American high school senior, Joan, who essentially, look, it's the American story, right? Popularity, wanting to fit in, wanting to be the prom queen. And that's her perplexity here. She wants to be able to fit in, but she finds out that in order to do that, she has to transition and become more white. She has to strip herself, of the culture that she comes from. And once she does that transition, all heck breaks loose. It becomes a dream turned to nightmare. It's really, I would say, heartbreaking, but, it is that social commentary. It's from the folks who did Mean Girls and also The Substance, of course.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you're getting a little bit of the satire from Mean Girls and the dark from The Substance.
All right,
Absolutely.
I'm intrigued by that one. All right,
Same.
the next film feels perfectly timed because we all are still talking about heated rivalry. Team USA men and women winning hockey. So let's continue the hockey theme with a film called young blood.
Yes, hockey is having a moment. So young blood, if you remember Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, I mean, this is that kind of modern, look back. We've got the story back on the ice, except we have this young hockey player from Detroit. He moves from Detroit, goes to Canada to chase these dreams of being a star hockey player. But what he doesn't expect is what he has to be up against. It's not just the game. It's also, confronting some of the harsh realities, the machisme, the, kind of a brutal struggles of what it means to play the sport. But also keep in mind, this is from the director. I want to get his name right. Here he goes. Bam. Okay, so we've got Hubert Davis. Okay. I got it. Hubert Davis. If you've seen Black Ice, then you know that he's done this documentary that essentially focuses on racism in the sport. So you're going to get a bit of that. It's hockey like you've never seen it before. And Hubert Davis, I know you're going to crush it with this one.
There we go. And we got
I got you, friend.
We're running out of time, so we have to talk about Harry Styles because everyone's been listening to Aperture. Now we have the whole album. What do we know?
We know that the Harrys, the fans of Harry Styles, are loving this already. It is the Harry Styles that you know and love, but different. He's bringing us that disco vibe. It's a lot of party. It's a lot of underground, but there are some songs that are a bit slow as well. So it's Harry like you've never heard him before, and the fans are eating this one up. This album, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally.
It's a great title right there, right? I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
I love it. I'm kind of like, what would my version be, right? Kiss all the time, maybe eat all the time, work out occasionally. I don't know.
And then disco sometimes.
Exactly.
Once a month. All right. Love that. Kay Ingram, thank you so much. So much to do and listen to this weekend. That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now. Don't go anywhere. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.